Rolling. Hello and welcome to Trailer Talk. We're your hosts. I'm Vero Sandler.
I'm Dora
And this is episode 1 of our podcast. We decided to create this podcast because we've both worked in the mountain bike industry for quite a few years now, and we've bumped into and met so many amazing individuals who are super creative, and we wanted to help highlight their stories.
And we also like to show the different routes into the bike industry and talk about everything that's going on in the freeride world, in the art world, and everything that happens in between.
We have some really sick people lined up to come on the podcast, but we thought first we'll take a minute to introduce ourselves.
Yeah, we thought it's probably a good idea to talk about how we both ended up here, because we both moved from a different country and we've got quite interesting stories to tell you. So how did you end up in the UK, Vero?
So I grew up in New Zealand. I grew up in a pretty kind of unique setting where my parents were super anti-technology and just pretty hippie, really. So
yeah, that's cool.
I was very creative from a young age. We were always doing like just arty things, lots of kind of self-expressive things, art, music. Making things by hand was like massive to me, something I really enjoyed doing. And when I was about 13, 14 years old, I started mountain biking after my little brother Leo got into it. So, and like from day one, I thought it was the sickest thing ever. So I kind of just dropped everything I was doing and just wanted to ride my bike. And then naturally I like got into racing because that was what all my mates were doing who were riding mountain bikes. And that took me overseas, and that's how I ended up here, really. I raced like the downhill World Cups for quite a few years. I was like working a lot back home, and then I'd just be able to fund coming overseas, and I'd do normally a European race season, and then I'd sell my bike and fly home with the money I sold my bike with. And then at the end of 2014, I did that whole thing again, but I sold my bike, but I still didn't have enough money for a flight, basically. So I was kind of stuck in the UK. That winter, I just like put my head down. I worked, I rode, I like met new crews of people to ride with, and kind of explored the whole. I lived in Wales, so I was exploring like all the OG Welsh spots that I'd seen in mountain bike films growing up, and I absolutely loved it. And I've been here ever since.
That's cool. It's pretty cool being stuck in the UK in winter, even though winters are not the best in the UK maybe, but the riding is so good, and you can ride all year round, so that's pretty good for training as well.
Definitely,
to kind of like keep training on the bike.
Definitely. I just found it so refreshing. Like obviously New Zealand's amazing, but it's what I grew up with and I was super used to. So coming to the other side of the world and just kind of being stuck here and being like, okay, cool, I'm here now. Like I'm gonna get stuck in. I started finding a new type of riding that I was really into, which kind of later transformed into freeride, I guess. And that's how I got to where I am today. So, and that's what's put me right here in this caravan.
Sweet.
What about you? How did you end up here?
So I moved here when I was 18. I came to the UK to study. I did a design and applied arts undergrad course. But 2 weeks before I moved here, I was hit by a car.
Wow.
And I had a broken leg. And I nearly didn't move here because it was obviously like such a big mission to move with a broken leg and like a couple of suitcases.
On your own at 18?
On my own, at 18.
But where from? Where were you moving from?
From Poland.
Yeah.
So I'm originally from Poland. And so it was kind of like a big move, but in my head, like it didn't seem like anything. I kind of like just thought, I'll just do it. Maybe because I didn't know what to expect, or because I was so young, you kind of like don't really have similar experiences. Like we've not had anything like that happen to you before. So you kind of like just send it.
Yeah, the world is your oyster. You're just like,
So I moved to the UK. I think I had like £60 on me as well. Like I had no money. And I had accommodation sorted in that, and I just thought my plan was to go to work straight away. But then I had this cast on my leg, so it was pretty difficult. So I kind of like survived the first couple of weeks on the 60 quid, and then I thought like, I gotta go to work. So I went to hospital and I told the doctors to like just take it off my leg, but I was only like 3 weeks in of my like healing journey, and they said like I shouldn't be taking it off because it's not healed yet.
Yeah.
So like I have no other choice, just take it off. And so they just like cut through it and took it off, and I went to work, and it was a bit painful, but I just had to do it. So now I'm thinking about it, like,
what job did you do?
I did like bar jobs basically, which is like require a lot of walking and standing, which is probably not ideal. But I just battled through it just to get some money.
Respect.
And then I finished my undergrad degree, and I struggled to get jobs for quite a long time. I think we just hit recession then. It was like 2010, and it was difficult for everyone, but I think it was like super difficult as well because it was quite difficult back then with like an art degree, and I was in the wrong place as well in the UK for like art jobs, and lots of like different things like probably contributed to that. But I applied for like loads of jobs in art and design, and then I kind of like realized that maybe I need to try something new. So I trained myself in graphic design.
Nice.
And then found a job in graphic design.
Nice.
That was like my first full-time job I did for a couple of years, and then after that I just realized I wasn't really thriving in the office setting, so I just went freelance, and I started working from home and like just working on like different projects here and there, and I got into art as well, like properly, like doing art installations and trying different things, and I tried photography, and working freelance gave me that kind of flexibility, and it gave me like enough time to experiment with my other ideas. And then I guess I wasn't a mountain biker then. I didn't really know anything about mountain biking. I didn't even know it existed. I had a bike when I was a kid, but that's as far as it goes. And I got into biking maybe in my mid-20s. I got like a cross-country bike and started going to Cannock Chase and lapping that, and realised the only parts that I really enjoyed was when I was going down the hill. I felt the speed, that was enough to like get me hooked.
Sick.
So I sold a cross-country bike, and I got a freeride kind of like downhill bike. I started taking it to different bike parks and got into racing pretty quickly as well, just on like regional level. But I kind of wanted to meet more people through biking and kind of like learn to ride really, and that was like, for me, that was like a perfect setting to learn to ride, because
for sure
I would turn up to a venue and I would have to get down the track, and there's no like turning back. You can't turn up and then say I'm not racing this, because you kind of like committed by that point. So I guess like that's how I learned really to ride.
Sick. Just getting stuck in. Nice.
I don't know if it was like when you were going to like different race venues, was it challenging for you sometimes?
Definitely. I was like,
it's probably like completely different level to mine, but
no. Well, obviously I started as a kid, like 14 when I started doing like some races. I was like, just racing the regional stuff, and then I was at school, so there would be like different school events on there. In New Zealand, there'd be like a national secondary schools thing that like I'd go to, and I would be like struggling to get down these tracks. But I was like, I have to do it. Like, I'm not gonna not attempt to do it. So you like learn a lot through failure, I guess.
You don't want to get a DNS, right? Or like
no, well, like if you really crash and you get a DNS, then like, oh well. Do you know what I mean?
But if you don't turn up to like the start line,
like you're gonna give it a go for sure. And like it's so true. Like in that environment, that's where you learn a lot, because there's not actually any pressure on you. Like no one's actually putting pressure on you, but you feel the pressure because the clock's there, or like the clock's going to be on you at some point in the weekend, and like everyone else is there smashing laps, and you're just like, wow. And you see all these people go past, and you can like learn visually from what they're doing. So
true.
It's actually really sick setting to learn biking in. It's pretty intense.
Pretty intense actually. Really stressful. Yeah, I remember like I didn't enjoy the stress, but
no, neither.
I enjoy like the kind of like the social aspect of it.
Yeah, me too.
But I hated the waiting around for your turn.
Yeah.
And
then the fact that you have to like put it all on the line in this one run and you just might not do it. It's like, damn, like that doesn't actually, it's crazy.
Yeah.
I have so much respect for people who like can pull race runs together
honestly,
time after time. It's crazy.
And like manage the stress and the feelings of like, you know, the expectations toward themselves and the race team probably that's behind them as well.
Yeah.
And that's actually,
Insane.
like pretty cool skill to have.
For sure.
Something that I didn't really have.
No, neither.
at that point.
But speaking of race teams, you've like done a lot of work for one of the big sort of like, I mean, it's not a race team, it's like multiple business.
Yeah, well, there is a race team to it as well.
Connected to it.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about that.
Atherton Bikes. So, yeah, I do quite a lot of design work for Atherton Bikes, Atherton Racing and Dyfi Bike Park. I've kind of like become the go-to person really for anything like merch, design, branding related work. But yeah, I kind of like got into it really randomly. So in COVID, I was trying to like kind of look for a place where I can, a new place where I can move to. And then going back to the COVID time, I bought a van, I converted the van, and I lived in a van for a bit, travelled around Europe, and I was sort of thinking like, what would be my next steps? And what I loved about van life was like, I just felt like I was on holiday constantly, because I was always waking up in like beautiful places, and it was like that feeling of like, I didn't want to feel like down coming back home, you know. And I've experienced that before, where you go on like an amazing holiday and then you come back home and you feel like,
go home.
Oh, like I don't want this to end now. Like,
for sure. Yeah.
And so I was like, well, maybe I should change it then.
Nice.
And just find a place where I love being and waking up, and then like just being around, you know, surrounded by like beautiful scenery and stuff like that. And so I was looking at different places in the UK, and I was initially looking at Scotland, but then I thought like it's really far away from like London and Birmingham, like is where I had quite a lot of work, so it would be hard for me to commute to like these places. So then the next one on my list was Wales.
Nice.
And I was looking at like renting a place, but it was hard to like find a house for rent, especially in COVID. So then I kind of like messaged like a bunch of Airbnbs and asked if they would rent it out to me. And by chance, like one of the Airbnbs just like in the heart of Dyfi replied and said, yeah, you can rent it out for a few months. So yeah, I just moved there randomly. And I knew the Dyfi Bike Park was there, and I knew there would be like decent mountain biking, and I knew it was like not far from Revs and where you live. So if I didn't like find a like the right community to like hang out with, then it's never like too far from Revs and that. So so I lived there for a bit, and then after the lockdown ended, I had to move out of that cottage because it was back on Airbnb, and so really struggled to find like a place to rent because there is a shortage of houses in that area. And so I ended up moving into a tent. I basically like lived in the field for a few months with the Dyfi Bike Park crew.
Yeah.
Because everyone else who worked like in the area also struggled to find a house, and we were all like in the same boat really. And so we just basically moved into like that field, like opposite the bike park.
Yeah.
And we lived in tents and caravans and like camper vans, and you know, like it was a crazy like
there's a hell of a setup there. Like you said, there's like every type of vehicle or sort of contraption that you could like live in was
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
And everyone was just hanging out.
Every form. Like,
you guys even had like an airbag there.
yeah,
at
we
one
had an
point to
airbag
set.
as well. Like one of the guys brought an airbag, like
Yeah.
massive airbag, and
Yeah.
the boys have built a ramp and like a
Sick.
roller into it. So
I love it. It's a really sick solution to like
Yeah.
having nowhere to live.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
all the crew just gets together.
I guess like it was in the summer as well, so
Yeah.
like we managed to pull it off. But if
Yeah.
it was winter in Wales, like you wouldn't be able to live in the field.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was super fun actually. Like my only choice was like either move back to England and live in a house and like be away from all this that I I only started like getting to know everyone around here and kind of like really loved living here.
Yeah.
So my only choice was like either move back to England or like figure something out, and it seemed like the right option at the time. I thought like I'll just give it a go.
Yeah, I love that.
I had a full-time job at the time as well. I was working remotely for a company in England, and
Sick.
like I remember like my boss saying like, "So are you homeless?"
You're
I'm
like,
like, "No, I live in a tent."
yeah, what do you mean?
But it was like a big tent, you know, like
Yeah.
an emperor ones.
It was
like,
super nice.
like double peaked, like
Yeah.
like big one. So it was like massive actually. Probably like bigger than the flat I live in now.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that thing was a rig.
Space wise, yeah.
Yeah. That's so sick though. I think like we've both like at times like fully committed ourselves to just the riding setup that we've wanted. And
Yeah,
then
true.
just kind of sacrifice everything else that comes the comforts that come with it, and it's got us to like some really cool places. So
Yeah.
that's actually super sick.
Because you kind of lived out a van for a bit, right? When you were
Yeah.
racing, and then
Yeah.
and then obviously you live here, like in mid Wales.
Yeah.
You've got like quite
Yeah.
a sick setup here as
Yeah.
well.
So I'm not like
off grid.
yeah. I'm not like shy to the van life. Like I've done a lot of that over the time that I've kind of lived in the UK and around Europe. And it's like you said, it's so cool because you can just pull up anywhere and you have crazy views and stuff. It is the dream. But yeah, like my fiance Sam and I now live in this like little off-grid tiny house, which is actually super sick.
So
We've just
good.
had our first like full winter in it, and it was like
And
so
survived.
much better than we were just, you have these things in your mind like, oh my god, am I gonna freeze to death? Am I gonna like, all of the things? But it's actually been insanely sick.
Yeah.
And I highly recommend. Definitely character building, and you have to like work much harder to just have like the simple things working in the house.
True,
but it is really rewarding. It makes me feel slightly like how maybe it used to be back in the day, where you have to like, work to get your water and
Yeah.
hopefully have some sun so you can have,
Yeah,
not that they used to have electricity, but like it definitely provides like more work, but it's like rewarding work, so a big fan of it. But we have a tiny house and massive jumps, so pretty sick setup.
Yeah, it's like the ratio is like the house is probably like 1/10 of the jump, like the jumps are like taking up most of the space, and then there's just like this tiny little house.
Just prioritising the riding,
Like, the house just occupies like 1% of the land, and the riding is like
maybe
else.
if we can be sneaky over time, we can like expand, like just add little bits to the house. It becomes massive. But no, it's actually sick. I absolutely love living in Wales. It's so good. And that is exactly where we are right now in this caravan. This is like going back to the van life thing. I kind of, Sam and I kind of missed. Was it the year before last? We were traveling a lot to Europe, and we were flying there and back every time. And we never really got to, because the road trip vibes out there are so good.
Yeah.
And he had this like insane, he had this caravan idea which never popped into my head. He was like, why don't we just get a caravan? Because they're super cheap. It has literally everything in it. Like it has a bathroom, a kitchen, insane amounts of storage. So we bought one, found one on Facebook super cheap, and then we went to Europe in it last year and had the best time. And now it can provide an excellent setting for podcasts.
It's a studio now.
It's so multi-purpose.
Multifunctional.
So yeah, it's
Sick.
insane.
Because you travel to quite a lot of the backyard battle comps. Are they comps or?
They're jams.
Jams,
So like, yeah, so the whole kind of like, I guess, idea and ethos of the backyard battles is to just get, first of all, everyone who has and is lucky enough to have an amazing set of jumps or something locally or in their backyard, who rides for Monster, can put one of these events on and invite whoever they want and basically create like their dream jam, which is so insane. I'm so stoked on the opportunity to do that because, yeah, to be able to do an event like that. I mean, going round to them all year is the best thing ever, but then putting one on yourself is like so sick and so rewarding. And just literally having all your mates come together at once in your backyard is like the most surreal thing ever. But yeah, they're not comps. They're more just, yeah, getting everyone together and riding as hard as you can, and kind of like, to me, embodies the essence of free ride, I guess. So it's really cool that stuff like that's happening. There's so much, free ride is growing so much, and with that comes lots of like big corporations kind of putting on big events and competitions, which is really sick. But there's also like a space within the more jam format, like non-competitive side of the sport, which is like flourishing at the moment, which I think is super sick.
Yeah. I kind of like see a lot of similarities to the art world with that as well, because allowing people like to express themselves without any pressure, any external pressure is so good. Like, because then if you've got that space to kind of like test things out and try things out without like being scared that you're going to fail. And even if you fail, then you can try again and you're not really like judged on it. It just gives you that like really cool, supportive kind of environment to experiment.
100%.
I've done something similar recently. I've put on like an art installation, and that we just had to like create within a day. And then it would just be on for like 2 hours, and then we would just pack up again. So it was like fully experimental. Like loads of people would just turn up to this like abandoned warehouse and just put up like sound pieces and like projections and like different art installations. And everyone's just like jamming, really like
love it,
kind of like collaborating, and and it's like, I realized that having stuff like this is like really like cool way of just trying things out without any pressure.
That's so sick.
It's called White Noise, by the way.
Love it.
Thought I'll mention.
Check that.
Check
That's
it out.
So sick. I think, like you said, there's definitely lots of similarities, and that's kind of why we wanted to do this, because there's so many people doing amazing things, like there's so much art going on in the mountain bike scene. Like everything you see has art behind it, you know, or at the forefront of it. Whether it's like, you know, installations or like graphic design or like filming, any of that stuff, or like people just being artistic on their bikes. There's like so much cool stuff going on. There's so many people like kind of making a living off really cool creative parts of the sport. So.
And trail building as well.
Definitely.
You know, music. Quite like a lot of things that are happening, but like behind the scenes really.
And we love to chat to these people. Like, like there's so many cool stories. So like, watch this space.
Watch this space. We've got some really cool people coming on to the podcast very soon, who'll be chatting about everything really.
Like an eclectic mix. Should be sick.
We're gonna have trail builders, people who do music, free riders, photographers, videographers as well. And just like all round creative people who are just doing something different.
That's sick. There's so much space for like so many different types of creatives in the scene. It's sick.
For sure.
And speaking of creatives, we have a little like initiative, I guess. Would you call
like a project. Within the project.
This is Dora's sick idea.
We're just like layering things.
So we're doing this. Let's open this junk mail drawer. By the way, we condone junk mail and we love it.
Please send us some junk mail.
In the junk mail drawer we have.
We have. So we're doing this postcard project where everyone who's going to come on our podcast will create something on the back of it to kind of like tell us what they've been thinking about recently or working on, or just anything that they want to share with the world. So starting with me and Vero. This is Vero's postcard, and it's her to-do list. Maybe we'll just zoom in.
That's me. I feel like this is what like represents me at the moment. I have like a really hectic schedule at the moment, and the to-do list is what is like holding me together basically. So this is my piece of art.
Have you done any of it? Like, have you ticked off any,
Actually,
like,
I did
of the
this.
things
Yeah,
on your list?
I did this a few weeks ago, and like I ticked some things off like the next day. But now looking back at it, I'm like, wow, I've done a lot of them, but I also haven't done a lot of them. So
Do you want to read like some of them maybe?
yeah, I have like random. It's all pretty like not exciting stuff, but there's like getting insurance for our backyard battle, buying grass seed so we can plant it on our jumps. Like lots of backyard battle things which Sam and I are kind of like organising at the moment.
Because that's coming up soon, right?
Yeah, in a couple of months'
yeah.
time. So, but because we're away next month for Dark Fest, we're doing a lot of it now. So basically, it's like backyard battle wristbands, backyard battle toilets, all that kind of stuff. A Women's Day that we're organising.
Sick.
I have to book my flights to Dark Fest, which is time is ticking.
Yeah.
Some filming dates, all this kind of stuff. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
me.
Like, it pretty sums up your life as well.
Yeah. And I thought it'd be sick to like look back on it one day and be like,
Yeah,
oh, that's
true.
what I was doing at this time, you know.
Mate, I sometimes find like receipts like from supermarkets from
Yeah.
like years
No
ago.
way, and you look through them and you're like, whoa, look what I was
No,
eating.
just like randomly, like it would be
Yeah.
somewhere in the box, and like, what was I eating 5 years ago? Like,
That's actually so interesting.
maybe we should save like receipts.
Yeah, that's like art, mate. Holy shit. What are you putting in your
I was
body?
like too much junk food.
Yeah, shit. Leveled up. Dora's got a sick piece for hers as well. I'm
No,
a
it's
huge
just
fan.
like an interpretation of this project, which is literally, I just drew a postcard on a postcard. Yeah, it's basically like, it's a world that is kind of like really fast, and the sender kind of message is like falling apart because it's going so fast, and then like the stamp, the like little square is like falling off and turning into a circle. So it's kind of like, yeah, very like distorted and warped like world. I guess like maybe that's how I see creativity. It's like always fluid and unexpected.
Sick.
So
Love
I
it.
kind of just wanted to
Love
show
that.
that.
That's really cool.
So yeah, so we're gonna have quite a few exciting guests coming on soon who will also do one of these. And what's the plan? I think we're gonna see what we're gonna do with it later.
Yeah.
But we would like to like maybe put up an exhibition as well and show.
Yeah,
them.
we've got some ideas.
Yeah.
And we'll just pick one at some point, I guess.
yeah.
But yeah, basically, yeah, we just want people to do whatever they want on these. And yeah, we send it to them before the podcast, and then maybe we'll do little sneak peeks of what they've drawn
Yeah, true.
in some episodes.
Yeah. You'll just have to stay tuned
Yeah.
to
But
see
yeah.
what we're gonna do with it.
Stoked.
Yeah.
Well, we actually have a really exciting guest coming on tomorrow. So yeah, that will drop after this drops, obviously.
yeah.
But yeah, we're super excited to get everything rolling and
yeah.
get chatting to some people. So hopefully everyone enjoys. Yes.
See you soon.